What is going on, my lovely, beautiful weirdos, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tani Michelle. We're just another spiritual channel here on the internet. So let's go ahead and get into it. This video is basically all about the Gemini New Moon, almost called it a full moon, coming up this Friday on the 22nd. I know I'm kind of at the last minute here, but I wanted to do a video on this because this new moon is crazy, and because we are getting into eclipse season, which basically we will be having moon events, so new and full moons in the signs that the nodes are now in, which are Sagittarius and Gemini, and then we will also have one in Cancer because the node is right on the cusp of Cancer and Gemini, so it's still going to be close to the node. So basically we are about to get into eclipse season. So the last eclipse season was December 2019, January 2020. Okay, so around that time, big energy was happening, big changes were happening. This is the next season of eclipses that we are going into. This particular new moon, I would not personally call an eclipse because it is almost, you know, a whole 30 degrees off of the node. So this particular new moon is not an eclipse, but the full moon that we have coming up in June, on June 5th, will be an eclipse, okay? And then the new moon that we have on June 21st will also be an eclipse. So we are getting into eclipse season, so you really do want to pay attention what things come up for you around this time of the new moon in Gemini, because that's going to give you a pretty good idea of what this eclipse season may be all about for you. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm going to actually record my laptop screen, so hopefully you guys will be able to see the chart and I will be able to show you guys what the fuck I'm looking at here. So yeah, I'm going to try my best to do that. It does take a little bit more editing to do it this way, but we're going to do it. So anyways, so the Gemini New Moon is happening this Friday around 1:39 p.m. for Mawa, for me personally. So if you're Eastern Standard Time, it's happening around 1:39 p.m. in the afternoon, okay? The Gemini New Moon is going to be around 2 degrees and 5 minutes of Gemini. So that the new moon is when the moon and the sun are conjunct. And since the sun is brighter than the moon, the sun basically cancels the moon out in a way so you won't necessarily be able to see the moon on a new moon because it almost like disappears in the light of the sun, if that makes sense. So the new moon is happening in the sign of Gemini, which if you've been watching my recent videos, we've been talking a lot about Gemini energy because as you can see, we have a lot fucking going on in the sign of Gemini. So basically, just for a quick freshen up of the sign of Gemini, Gemini is our communication, our skills. It can be like sometimes our different skill sets. Verbal communication, it is chatty, it can also rule our like close friends. It can rule any type of social kind of event or situation. It can rule, you know, our immediate environment and how we interact with our immediate environment. There's also this kind of like split duality with Gemini because they are known as the twins, right? So you can think of duality or polarity or whatever, however you want to put that. But yeah, so we have this new moon in Gemini, okay, bringing up the way that we think about things, the way that we talk about things, our communication skills, you know, our social lives. And Gemini is also mutable air, so it's like shifty, okay? It's air that's constantly moving and shifting, so therefore it's more adaptable. It can consider new information without previous biases, which we would see in Gemini's opposite sign of Sagittarius. Sagittarius is more like previous biases and deep-rooted beliefs. Gemini is more of that lighter energy of like, I just want to have fun, I just want to learn new things, I just, you know, it's more adaptable, it's more versatile. And so that's kind of the energy that we're dealing with here. Gemini is also very curious, playful, and flirty, especially with Venus in the sign of Gemini right now. So we just have all this Gemini energy. So you do want to see where Gemini is at in your chart because that's where this new moon will be happening. And I think it's funny, the new moon is happening on May 22nd, and we have this new moon at 2 degrees Gemini. We also have Venus and Mercury conjunct at 20 degrees Gemini, so a lot of twos. are going on here, which once again, balance, duality, polarity, decisions. Decisions is another huge thing that could come up for this Gemini new moon. Now, let's move on. So the new moon itself is going to be squaring Mars down here in Pisces. Okay, so Mars in Pisces, Mars isn't like thrilled to be in Pisces. Okay, Pisces is very watery, Mars is very fiery. Okay, so Mars's fire is getting put out left and right. Mars in Pisces can kind of make us a little bit lazy, or just like kind of dragging in a little bit. But this energy also needs an outlet, okay? Because Pisces is like a creative outlet. It's like an ocean where the ocean has tons of different outlets, right? And Mars in Pisces is all about, you know, drive and action and doing things. But so it's important that you have some kind of creative, healthy outlet around this time. And the Gemini new moon is going to highlight that. Where do we need some kind of outlet? Or where have we been trying to escape something that's been on our minds? Or where have we been distracting ourselves? This is another big theme with this new moon is distraction. Where have we been distracting ourselves from the problem? What needs to be resolved here, you know, with Pisces energy? Now, you do want to be careful with this new moon square Mars in Pisces, that you're paying attention as much as possible, okay? That you are not, you know, I don't know, floating up in the air and like just not thinking about anything around this new moon, because this could definitely be some kind of accident or slip up, or just something where you're like, why wasn't I thinking, or why didn't I see that before? Like, why did that happen? Why did I do that? So you do want to be careful. This may bring up a strong urge to like escape the mind, or to get out of a situation, or to end a situation. So those are some other things that could come up. Now, Venus and Mercury are going to be exactly conjunct at the time of this new moon, which means they're aligned. They're at the same degree of Gemini, of 20 degrees Gemini. So Venus is in Mercury's sign, because Mercury rules the sign of Gemini. So Venus is basically visiting Mercury's sign, chilling, hanging out, and Mercury with Venus is basically a good thing normally, right? Like Venus is how, like, what we're attracted to, our aesthetic, beauty, love, harmony. And Mercury wants to like chat and socialize and invent new things and, you know, bring messages, bring communication, all of that. So with Venus and Mercury together, we're definitely wanting to express our beauty. We're wanting to talk about our ideas, our creative pursuits. We are wanting to talk with people, okay? But the problem here is that they're both squaring Neptune in Pisces. So Neptune is also very much about escapism and kind of diluting things, confusing things, fogging things. So you do need to be careful with this aspect, because this can create rumors or bring in things that aren't true into your life. I mean, it can just kind of make things a little bit more foggy and a little bit unclear. Okay, so you do want to kind of watch out for that and be careful of that over, you know, this new moon period. And remember, the energy of the new moon, you can already start feeling it right now, but you can also feel it, you know, up to a week or two after the new moon. So I think, you know, this new moon is really kind of going to illuminate for a lot of us how this Gemini energy and how this eclipse season that we're going into, which is going to kind of tie some things up from the eclipse season earlier in the very beginning of the year, but also kind of start us in this new season for the rest of the year until we get to the very end of the year in December for that eclipse season. So I mean, this is a very important time. So this new moon is kind of highlighting for everybody what needs to be looked at, what needs to be rethought about, what ideas or concepts or old beliefs need to be addressed here. Okay, you can't run from it. You know, you can't keep running from your own self or your own thoughts or your own ideas or your own whatever, you know, your own words. So you do want to be careful with that. This may highlight some things that you didn't see before, okay? This may highlight that you've been under an illusion in some area of your life, you know, whether it's with friends, because that's a big Gemini theme, with distant relatives, siblings, also just in your life in general, with your relationship with Venus involved, or your relationship with yourself, or just anything or anyone. You know, Venus isn't just romantic relationships. I think of it as basically our relationship with a lot of different things, you know, the way that we are attracted to people, the relationship within ourselves, the relationship to the different people that we have in our lives that are close to us, our significant relationships in our lives. And so this is really kind of highlighting this new mark, this new beginning of where we are really looking at our different ideas, the way that we talk, the way that we communicate, how we express ourselves. And if there's any blockages right now, how can we move through that? How can we express that energy and express that emotion and express the different energy going on within us to kind of get it out of us, so we aren't holding on to it or feeling blocked or held back anymore. Now, another thing that's going on is this new moon is going to be trining Saturn down here, and also technically Jupiter as well, but I would be looking at Saturn a little bit more. So because it's trining Saturn, there is going to kind of be this stability, this anchor, because Saturn is kind of like heavy, it's responsibility, it's restriction. And so with it being in the sign of Aquarius and retrograde, it's going to also show us what Saturn has been doing in Aquarius and what Saturn retrograde may be about. This may start off some events rolling that deal with Saturn retrograde and what we may see through Saturn retrograde for the next several months now, because Saturn doesn't stop retrograding until, I believe, the fall. So, I mean, this is really highlighting the Saturn and Aquarius transit that we've been talking about on my channel for months now. So it's going to highlight where things have became maybe stagnant, or where we need to make changes. So it's also going to put pressure on us to where we can't easily escape the change, okay? We have to deal with it, we have to process it, and we need some kind of outlet. We need some kind of creative outlet, emotional outlet, healing outlet. And that's another thing. Pisces is a very healing energy. So where within us do we need some kind of healing, okay? Where within us do we need some kind of healing outlet? And so I really do feel like that is what is being brought up for this Gemini new moon. So hopefully that all made sense, and that's basically what I have to say for this Gemini new moon. It is a little bit of a shifty energy. It's not going to be necessarily 100% like just easy flowing and all of that. I do feel like, you know, we may be feeling very distracted or random over the next few days or even week. There may be some random synchronistic events that pop up, or things that pop up that, you know, we had thought about but we hadn't taken action on yet. And this is going to be the time to where we need to start seriously considering those things. So that is what I'm seeing for the Gemini new moon. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. And yeah, thank you guys so much for all of your support. I'm sorry I have been so MIA lately. I've been going through my own shit with just this channel, and then also just things in my personal life. So, but I do plan on being back and stuff now. So anyways, if there's any ideas for videos that you guys ever want to see, please let me know down below. I really appreciate your guys' feedback. It really does help me a lot. I love feedback. I really do. So yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Let me know how your Gemini new moon goes down below. We will be doing a ritual over on Patreon as always. And yeah,